Insta360 released version V4 of Insta360 Studio, which brings massive improvements and new features to the user. In this tutorial, I present you Insta360 Studio V4 with all new functions and improvements. This tutorial is suitable for beginners as well as experienced users. Before I start with the in-depth tutorial, here are the most important improvements. The biggest improvement is the completely reorganized workspace. Clear, visually attractive and tab organized. A step in the right direction. I'll show you all the details in the tutorial. Finally, there is now an undo and redo function. It can be selected via the menu bar or via the shortcut. Anyone who has worked with Insta360 Studio before will have missed this function. Finally, it was implemented in version V4. A completely new feature is the project management function. This makes it possible to create different 360 video reframing versions of your footage. It allows you to quickly switch between different reframing possibilities you created. You can compare them with one click. With the new Insta360 Studio update, you can export your reframed videos and continue working at the same time, which was not possible with the previous versions. This makes your workflow much faster and more efficient. Overall, I'm super impressed about the new Insta360 Studio update. I will now go into detail about all the functions and show you how you can edit and reframe your Insta360 footage. Import and footage preview. To import your Insta360 footage, just click on the Open button and select your raw material, which you want to edit. Alternatively, you can drag and drop your Insta360 video footage to import it. In this example, I import different raw videos and photos from the Insta360 One X2 and the Insta360 Go 2. What I really enjoy is the thumbnail preview. Here you can see a preview of your imported footage. If you drag your cursor over the thumbnail, you'll get a live preview of your footage. Attention! To use this function, you need the LRV file, which is automatically created by your Insta360 camera. In addition, there is also the simple thumbnail view and the list view. It is also possible to use the sort function to sort your imported material. You can sort by camera, file size, file type and date created, and this in ascending or descending order. With the small eye in the preview thumbnail, you can inspect the file properties. You can mark your footage as a favorite by clicking on the small star. The selected favorites will then be displayed in the Favorite tab. If you have imported a 360-degree video, there is also the possibility to use the auto-frame function. Insta360 Studio analyzes your footage and reframes it automatically, allowing you to choose different variations. For example, different people in the video are detected and tracked as objects. Try it out yourself. Most of the time, the auto-frame AI function delivers very interesting results. Tab Organized Workspace. To open your video, double-click on the preview thumbnail. On the right side, there are different tabs for various settings. The first one is the Stabilization tab. Here you can activate or deactivate the flow state stabilization. Of course, the flow state stabilization should always be activated. More interesting is the direction lock option, which is disabled by default. If you activate it, the reframing direction will follow the camera direction. The following example shows you the difference. Where only the flow state stabilization is activated, the viewing direction always remains static. If you activate direction lock, The viewing angle changes in the same direction the camera is moved. The next tab is the Stitching tab. Here you can choose between different stitching options. For example, if you use the sticky lens guard or the premium lens guard on your Insta360 One X2, you can improve your video stitching results here. Optionally, you can also use the stitching optimizations, dynamic stitching and chromatic calibration. In the Media Processing tab, you can apply Aqua Vision if you created underwater shots to improve the colors. With True Audio, you can select between different audio options. In the Logo tab, you can add logos at the stitching point if you want. The Project Management tab is very powerful. Here you can save different reframing versions of your footage. Just create as many projects as you like and generate different reframing options of your footage. I will go into this in detail later. The last tab is the File Properties tab. Here you find all important metadata of your Insta360 footage. If you open a Insta360 Go 2 video, you also find different tabs on the right side. There are minimal differences here. In the Stabilization tab, for example, you can select between Flow State and FPV stabilization. And in the Media Processing tab, you can select the different Field of Views options. Timeline and Edit. Now we come to the heart of Insta360 Studio, the Reframing editor. What I really enjoy is the new timeline design and the preview function. If you move the cursor over the timeline, a small yellow preview line shows a frame at the current position. If you press the left mouse button and scroll over the timeline, you will see the preview in the editing window. For example, you can use it to simulate what a hyperlapse would look like. The white line marks your current editing position. The video can be cut with the trim function. Simply search for the desired area you want to edit. Either you drag the trim marker to the desired position, or you use the shortcut function, which you can find in the menu item Edit. The part that is visible and will be exported is displayed brightly. Now you can only move your editing cursor inside the trimmed area. With the magnifying glass, the timeline can be zoomed in or out. Another important tip is to use the left and right arrow keys to go one frame forward or backwards. When you press Shift plus the left or right arrow, you can move with an increment of 10 frames. It is also possible to change the aspect ratio. For this purpose, different ratios are available at the aspect ratio button. Do you want to share your video on TikTok or Instagram? Then the format 9:16 is ideal. When you want to go extra wide, use the 2.35:1 aspect ratio for a wide panorama view. The standard is 16:9. With the snapshot button, you can export still frames from your video. And with the full screen button, you can switch into the full screen mode. Now we come to the main reason why you should use Insta360 Studio, and that is to reframe your 360-degree video footage. Make sure you work in the Reframe tab and not in the 360 tab. The 360 View tab is only for viewing the footage and not for editing. Now I just want to show you the basics of how you can reframe your 360 videos. You find in-depth tutorials for special reframing ideas and techniques on my channel. To start, place your time cursor anywhere on the timeline and click on the keyframe icon. Now you're able to adjust all your reframing parameters. First, you need to select the reframing basic mode: default, crystal ball, tiny planet or natural view. In this example, I start with a tiny planet. Now you can change the perspective as you like. Either you change the values with your cursor in the editing window, or you change the parameter values. To change it in the editing window, just click on the frame and change the perspective with the cursor. With the mouse wheel, you can quickly change the zoom value. You can also change the parameter values manually by typing them in. Or adjust the values with the mouse by moving it left or right. If you are satisfied with the result, you can play back the video. You will notice that the perspective is fixed and does not change. To change the perspective dynamically, it is necessary to set the second reframing keyframe. Pause the video and set a second keyframe. You can change the perspective again as you like. When you now play back the video again, from the first to the second keyframe, the perspective is changing dynamically. In this example, I have created a so-called Enter Planet effect by zooming in from a tiny planet to a natural view. If you're interested in creative reframing ideas, check out my video, 21 Creative 360 Video Ideas. You will find a lot of inspiration there. I have linked you the video in the info box. Of course, it is also possible to move, edit and delete keyframes afterwards. You can add as many keyframes as you like. To move a keyframe, simply click on the keyframe and drag it to the desired location. To change the keyframe reframing parameters, just click on the keyframe and adjust the values. To delete a keyframe, just click on the small X below, or use the remove key on your keyboard. Please don't forget, you have now the possibility to use the undo and redo function. This massively improves the reframing workflow. Another important reframing setting is the keyframe transition. To explain what the keyframe transition, also called keyframe interpolation, is, I create a new project in the Project Management tab. I only use two keyframes here, where I change the roll angle from 0 to 360. When I now play back the video, you see that the roll angle is changing from 0 to 360 with a constant speed. Now you have the possibility to adjust the transition speed. If you click between the keyframes on the yellow line, you open the Keyframe Transition menu. Here you can choose between Smooth Dissolve, Slip In, Fade Out, Fade In, Slip Out, Slip In, Slip Out, Fade In, Fade Out and None. The default transition is always Smooth Dissolve, where in this example the roll angle is changing with a constant speed. If you select Fade In, Slip Out for example, the roll angle is changing slowly at the beginning and fast at the ending. You get the opposite if you select Slip In, Fade Out. A fast speed at the beginning and slow at the ending. What I like to use very much is Fade In, Fade Out. With this option, you achieve very soft reframing movements. I planned to make a separate tutorial about keyframe transitions, because it is not so easy to understand at the beginning when to use which keyframe transition. But now I don't want to go into any detail further. Again, you can see the big advantage of the Project Management tab. I can quickly switch between the different reframing versions, which I created. To show you the next function, I again create a new project in the Project Management tab. With Insta360 Studio, it is possible to track different objects using Deep Track. Click on the Deep Track symbol and select the object which you want to track. Then click on Start Tracking and Insta360 Studio tracks the object. Stop tracking whenever you want. When you now play back the video, the tracked object remains in the center of your picture. Additionally, you can adjust the parameters by clicking on the yellow frame. Now only the Timeshift function is left. With the Timeshift button, you can slow down or speed up your footage. To do this, simply click on the timeline and then select the Timeshift button. Then define your endpoint. In this example, I slow down the speed and select 1/4. If you play back the video now, the footage is slowed down in the selected area. Of course, it is also possible to add reframing keyframes. Another possibility is to increase the playback speed and create a hyperlapse. I would definitely recommend you to activate motion blur. This will give you a natural looking result. To see the final result, it is necessary to export the video. A preview is not possible in the editor. Click on the Export button to export your video. Select the Reframed Video tab to export your reframed video. If you click on the 360 Video tab, you export the full 360 video. I would recommend you to export your video in 4K for the best output quality. You can choose between the different encoding formats: H.264, H.265 and ProRes. It is also possible to adjust the bitrate. Additionally, you can select the AI effects, Color Plus and Remove Grain. Click on Start Export to export immediately, or Add to Queue to export several videos together. The great thing with the new Insta360 Studio update is that you can still work with Insta360 Studio, although a video is exporting. This makes your workflow much faster and more efficient, because you're not limited during the export process and have to wait. And here you see the final result of the exported hyperlapse. Here are some additional important informations. If you want to reset everything, just click Edit and clear current edit data. Alternatively, you can create a new project in the Project Management tab. Insta360 Studio saves everything automatically. If you close the program and open it again, you just have to import your edited footage again, where everything is saved. That was a lot of information. My tip to you is, just try it out yourself and experiment with Insta360 Studio. If you need help or don't know how to do something, you can always use this tutorial as support. I can only recommend you to work with it. Then you learn the handling of the program and you get creative with your own ideas. Overall, I'm really impressed by the new Insta360 Studio update. I'm excited that Insta360 takes the wishes of the users seriously and constantly improves Insta360 Studio. In general, I prefer Insta360 Studio over the Insta360 smartphone app for reframing. I find it easier to reframe the footage with Insta360 Studio and the laptop than with the smartphone and the Insta360 app. In addition, Insta360 Studio also offers some features that the Insta360 smartphone app does not have. Therefore, I have linked you in the video description an affordable laptop, which is ideally suited for Insta360 Studio. If you don't have one, check out the link. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and learned a lot of new things. Subscribe to my channel to support me and never miss a video in the future. See you in the next video.